and more grateful to the mover of this motion, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kapirimposhi. I would like to join him in extending my heartfelt condolences to the family of the late Honorable Rosario Fundanga on her passing to the other side. Mr. Speaker, there's so much that can be said about this motion, but I've summed it up this way, that it appeals to our colleagues who are heading the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Transport and Communications, the Ministry of Local Government and Housing, last but not the least, the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Speaker, this, by extension, is an appeal for all of us members of Parliament to see this as an controversial motion which sits at the bedrock of why we are here. It should be appealing to our heart and souls, because the people that we are discussing here, to begin with and to borrow the movers' own words, are Zambians like we are. There are labor laws that compel the employer to pay the employee once the employee has discharged their functions. I know we have got a lot of competing needs in this country, especially now more so than ever before. But it touches my heart, Mr. Speaker, when we deal with companies like Tazara. And I'll begin with Tazara, because if the late Julius Marimo Kambarage Nyerere had to rise from the dead and find the type of dislocation that this side of the divide has caused this operation, which was established as a dream between him and Dr. David Kenneth Kaunda, in order to, they had a foresight, in order to reduce the pressure on our internal road network. They thought about getting a gateway from overseas into Zambia. And who is the ultimate beneficiary of this project? I think it's no contest. It is Zambia. Because Tanzania do have a port. They interface with the Indian Ocean. And this is the reason why I think that the Zambian government should have taken more interest in making sure that the spirit of Tazara remained alive, so that Julius Malimo Kambarage Nyerere would not collapse if by miracle he was to be called back to life. To see the amount of neglect that has happened to that institution. The mover has ably said, and I followed up at the time when the Tanzanian Minister of Transport, in fact it was the Deputy Minister of Transport, made an undertaking that they were going to assume the welfare of the workers of Tazara on the other side. I think we all know that these roads that you have made here as Patriotic Front, in inland roads, have got very short lifespan. Just go to Matero here and see what the Great North Road looks like a few months after it was done by the Chinese contractors. At the point when the temperature was highest, they were pouring water, Mr. Speaker, to cool it down because the bitumen was melting. What more can you do to save roads than transferring bulk cargo onto Tazara? What more can you do? The amount of trucks, Mr. Speaker, that go past the weighbridge, the toll gates, going to Durban, the port of Durban, in order to go and be sold elsewhere, could have diverted at Kapiri in order to get to Dar es Salaam without putting any stress whatsoever on our Zambian roads. This is what I'm talking about. And this is what this motion is serving to achieve. Not only to make sure that these unfortunate employees of Tazara are paid, but also to save the country, to look forward, to look years ahead, that you do not start repairing these roads 2 years after they were repaired. Sunken cost. I think that colleagues have gotten that point. We need to de-stress, to remove the stress on our road network. And one sure way of doing it is, first of all, Mr. Speaker, to ask the government to maybe shelve the project for Muchinji this rail line they want to build across from to connect to Beira. Why should you connect to Beira when you're failing to service an already existing infrastructure? You are failing to pay. Mr. Speaker, Tazara employs just plus or minus 2,788 employees on this side. The establishment, I think, is slightly over 3,400. We are already below the establishment, which means the people who are there at 2,700 are already stressed because they must be doubling for other people's jobs. Doubling and they are not being paid. How in the world can one explain to me that you can even curb the biggest elephant in the room right now in this country, that being corruption? How can you envisage that one can be reporting to work for 7 months without getting paid? They must have an avenue. They're waiting for that rainy day when an opportunity will come to consign goods on Tazara to Dar es Salaam or from Dar es Salaam and put maybe a dubious way bill and ask the consigner to pay some little money for them to feed their children. An average family, Mr. Speaker, in Zambia was 6, including the wife. So if you multiply this number of 2,700 employees of Tazara, it goes without saying that in excess of 16,700 people are stressed by the act of government not paying them. I think that there is no contest to the fact that the families are stressed in this area. There are also some trickle-down effects to such a neglect. Crime goes up. Just simple crime, pickpockets. Because kids cannot find food at home, they will end up robbing people on the street. Kapiri's potential is extremely high. And any serious group of people running government affairs must put a focus on a town like Kapiri because it's an inland border. Do not neglect it. What's the other trickle-down negative vice, Mr. Speaker? It is the prevalence of HIV. When people have no jobs, they tend to do other things that are a little bit, out of the book. Your children out of school because their parents cannot pay school fees because government has neglected them. What do? They know the old profession exists. Somebody will lure them with money. Some for a good cause to go to school and they'll offer their bodies. I think we can save this country from this kind of thing. Mr. Speaker, let me come to Zampost. Zampost employs just well over 930 people. And also, by the way, Tazara established under an act of parliament, so it is a creation of this house. Zampost created by this house. So why should we neglect these own babies of ours? Zampost employs about 938 people. And again, if you want to do your simple multiplication with an average family of 6, it means there are 5,600 people who are stressed from Zampost. Like the mover said, I think you can sacrifice one of, even the post office, that I think it's plot number 1, Lusaka. If you want to keep it for prestige, keep it, but sell the other small buildings so that you can pay these people. You can pay these people because Zampost, anyway, if you go into the post office right now, Mr. Speaker, you'll find that nearly all the floors are rented out by private companies. It was never like that. With the advent of internet, we don't go to the post box now to open with the keys. We just type and then the mail goes. So it means that in terms of even their core function, their responsibilities is reduced. So people should be paid. They should be paid. And now look, Mr. Speaker, what the PF did. The PF decided to give a responsibility to Zampost to run the social cash transfer. A stressed company. And the facts are all here. Not paid. They are owed existing staff 7 months, 20 million kwacha. Retirees, 12 months, 1.7 million kwacha. Retrenchees, 12 months, 1.9 million kwacha. Total 24.4 million. Then you give Zampost 4-point-something million pounds to manage for the social cash transfer. Isn't it no wonder they got excited and they blew the money? How can you give a stressed organization such a colossal amount of money and expect them to live, to enjoy that fortune? It was too tempting for them to manage this. They went and bought the report, Mr. Speaker's report is there. They went and bought brand new vehicles for their directors, for the board of directors. And yet there's a government, Minister of Finance, Minister of Labor, Minister of Transport, Minister of Local Government. This sits at the heart of their function. They must be the first one to rise to help to resolve this impasse. As a matter of fact, it would be so nice if the responses as they come, for us to adopt this motion and act on it. I would be happier if it came from these four ministers to lead the way for those who may want to just say whatever comes out of the opposition is not good enough. 5,616 people stressed as a result of non-payment of Zampost workers. Mr. Speaker, I quite like what I read as I was doing my research about Zampost. And I'll quote, although the Zampost is a statutory body, the current act does not protect them from execution of court judgments. Section 3 of the repealed Postal Act provides that there is hereby established the Postal Services Corporation, which shall be a body corporate with a common seal capable of suing and being sued subject to the provisions of this act, capable of performing all such acts as a body corporate may by law or perform. End of quote. This is what corporate governance is defined for. Because now I'm shifting to local government, Mr. Speaker. You know, as much as I do, that under the local government, this is not PF's problem, but some of them were there, who crafted this law to protect the local governments from execution of court judgments. And I will also now quote what
Order on the left.
the Act said as amended, Act number 9 of 2004. And I think collectively we should repeal this Act, because many officers will actually hide behind this Act and commit atrocities. If you go into the local government public accounts reports, you will see that most of the pilferage, the theft of public money, happens in the local government. And here is where the problem lies. For those of you who may not have come across this particular piece of legislation, it says, and I quote, in terms of the execution of court judgments or orders, Section 67A of the Local Government Amended Act number 9 of 2004 provides that notwithstanding anything to the contrary contained in any written law, where any judgment or on any order has been obtained against the council, no execution or attachment of process of any nature shall be issued against the council or against any property of the council, but the town clerk or council secretary, as the case may be, shall cause to be paid out of revenue of the council such amounts of money as may, by the judgment or order, be awarded against the council to the person entitled to that money. I think, end of quote. This is where the problem lies. So if the council owes me, say, argument's sake, 10 kwacha, I get a court judgment that they must pay me that money. If they decide they'll be paying me one Ngwe every month, so be it. Somebody thought they were protecting the council by bringing this statute here. They were destroying the council. And I think collectively we should repeal this particular piece of legislation. Now, why do council officers go to work? I think it's on all fours with why the Tazara people go to work, with why the Zampost people go to work. They go to work for corruption. Because they know they won't be paid. But they wake up every morning, take a shower, wear a suit, Go and report at the office and waiting for the next guy who has defaulted on paying rent, ground rent or rentals.
Substitute the word guy.
Next fellow, I apologize. The next fellow who's going to come, been given and he wants a remission maybe on properties, then they'll say, bwana, muzi was tuna fore after 6 months. So, long time ago, meaning we haven't been paid for 6 months. So they will now say, no, in the long time ago, it used to be called Nchekeleko. And now it is Turiemo. They go to work for corruption, Mr. Speaker. That's what they go to do, to report to work. To do what? To do corruption. It has become endemic in these institutions, especially the local authority. Just how in the world? Explain to me someone why you'd be motivated to wake up every morning, 6 o'clock. Some even go to the gym first to go and train for corruption and report to work at 8 o'clock, just waiting like a voucher to say who's the next person now, who's coming with a problem. And then they'll say, okay, just pay so little, and then we'll get your problem sorted out. I think together we can solve this problem. And my proposal, because we are here to give proposals, is that as you agree to adopt this motion without controversy, we also look into the law and see if we can clear the backlog, clean up the law, and make sure that councils now can be sued and judgments can be discharged against them. Execution should be done against them. Then we'll be solving a problem even for posterity, even for the generations that are coming after us. We'll be doing that. So I'm urging my colleagues that this motion is very innocent. There are too many people who are suffering. Many of these children, like I said before, have deserted their homes to go and look for a livelihood, either to become a domestic servant, Mr. Speaker, at a tender age. Everything sitting right in the face of the Ministry of Labor, because that's the ministry that deals with child labor. You will find that a child at 12 years old is knocking at people's doors, Tufuna Peaceway. We're looking for Peaceway. Why? Is because the parents have found themselves in a situation such as what we have today. I'm quite certain that this does not need soul searching on the part of those who are going to agree any moment now to adopt this motion, to be carried in exactly the form that has been crafted by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Kapirimposhi. Let me take my hat off to him for being so compassionate, for being so kind. And by the way, this, Mr. Speaker, is just a tip of the iceberg. It was a random sample that we collected, 3 institutions. The issue of non-payment of salaries by government and quasi-governmental institutions is rampant. So we'll cure many things. We'll bring back morality. We are going to cure corruption, which has become endemic under Patriotic Front by their own admission, because they've admitted that the problem here in this country is corruption. Mr. Speaker, let me thank you also for giving me this opportunity to be the one to second this motion, which is very close to my heart.
Yeah.